What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we're taking a look at the later rounds of drafts, going over the best running backs to take as the last 1 to 2 running backs on your team. By this point, you have your starting lineup set. You've got those first couple bench players that can rotate in and out of the flex spot, running back 2, wide receiver 2. By this point, we have 1 or 2 more running backs that are not needed for week 1 production, but we expect could have a larger role as we get going into the season, could have a higher ceiling than people are expecting about a month into the year. So let's get things started off with the name everyone wants to hear, and that's Corey Merritt. I don't think he deserves to be in this video, but I feel a need to go over him because every comment will be asking about him if I don't. So a month ago, 2 months ago for sure, easily top player in the video, would have been must draft, because he was free, right? He was going as that last player in your draft. As of recording this, he's up to the running back 40 on average, and this is counting leagues that are not competitive, that are sometimes auto-drafted, right? Coming off the board in round 10. In competitive leagues, I can promise you he was going earlier than that. Also depends on the site, CBS, ESPN, he's a 9th rounder. On NFL.com, he theoretically goes in round 14. Sleeper goes in round 15. No, that does not actually occur in drafts. I would say, from what I have seen from what you guys are drafting, if you were drafting this weekend, you should expect to have to spend like a 7th or an 8th round pick in a 12-team league. I've seen him go in round 6. I've seen him go later, but assume around 7 or 8. So also, not in this video, right? So this video is the last running back. Round 7 or 8 is not that point. But I'm just going to give my take on Bill Merritt because everyone is going to ask for it. So I have him ranked as a mid-10th rounder in 12-team half PPR leagues, a little bit later than that in full PPR because he's probably not going to have many receptions. Clearly a hit for the Commanders, right? You cannot even argue that they draft a 7th round rookie and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? We don't need Brian Robinson Jr. He doesn't need to be on the team. We can trade him away because we're comfortable with Eckler, Chris Rodriguez, and a 7th round rookie. Like, for him to not be a hit, for them to be like, no, it's just Chris Rodriguez, that makes no sense. It is obvious that they are going to use Bill Merritt a good amount this season. But Eckler's the passing down back. Chris Rodriguez right now is the favorite for short yardage and will still mix in on early downs. And then, of course, everyone knows Jaydon Daniels, like hyper-mobile quarterback, going to be used in the red zone as well, both as a passer and as a runner. So you start to see the touches go away. Last season, Commanders running backs were league average 15th in touches. They combined as a unit for 0 receiving touchdowns. So it is a lot of volume on the ground. It is a lot of rushing touchdowns. That is where the value is coming for Commanders running backs. But if you are not getting that many targets as a unit, and then Eckler is taking the ones that you do get, if you are maybe losing the goal line work to Chris Rodriguez, meaning you're pretty much a between the 20s running back, not that Merritt's not going to have any touchdowns, but when you start looking at it like that, we were not drafting Brian Robinson Jr., right? Like, we know Brian Robinson Jr. is not like a bad running back. He's mediocre, and that's why they got rid of him. He's pretty much replacement level. But basically what you would need if you're going to draft Merritt in round like 6 or 7 in hometown leagues right now, and again, hometown leagues, many of them not as competitive, so you can afford to not take on this sort of risk, you're going to need him, I don't want to say like to completely ice the other running backs, but you're basically going to need him to ice Chris Rodriguez. You're going to need him to win the goal line job, to be completely used between the 20s. And even at that point, you kind of start to question with Jaydon Daniels, with Eckler there, what is the upside? Because that was already the case for Brian Robinson Jr. last year, and he wasn't even that amazing of a play in fantasy. Like, if the backfield is going to score around 20 half PPR points per game, and they're going to split it amongst 3 running backs, and Bill doesn't have the receptions and maybe not the touchdowns, it's going to be tough to trust him as a 6th or 7th round pick. So if he was actually going as that last running back, and if in your specific league he does, great, right? If he's actually the last running back you draft, you get him, round 12, round 13, certainly. I think that's an awesome pick to make. Go for it. But in competitive leagues, he's not going that late. He's going earlier, and I don't think you need to feel bad if someone takes him in 7 and you're like, oh, should I have taken him earlier than that? No, I don't think so. I'm excited. I got him at like the 310 or the 312 in my dynasty league, right? Great. If you want to take him in a rookie dynasty draft, if you want to take him in a platform where he falls, go for it. But right now, it's a 6th or 7th round pick at times in 12-team leagues. No, I'm not doing that. So, actual running backs for this video, because again, he's not even going as last running back. First up, Tuten. I think Tuten is very clearly, if you could pick one running back to be that last pick on your team, and this will be the case. So as we go through the video, same thing with wide receiver. we get later and later. So if you're in a 10-team league, I think the takeaway from this video is Tuten in my eyes. And basically, as every running back goes further, the odds get lower and lower that you even need to go that far. Because if you're in a non-competitive league, a smaller league, fewer bench spots, you don't actually need to draft the last running back we go over. You can draft the first running back we go over as your last running back. But I want to kind of give more options for people in different formats. But I think Tuten is number one. He was taken, I think it was 402 or 403 by the Jaguars this year in the draft. 100th percentile speed, like 98th, 97th percentile height adjusted speed, 97th percentile burst. He is an unbelievable athlete. Graham Barfield over at Fantasy Points, great website. He charts yards created third best yards created per carry in this class. It's highly predictive. So straight up yards per carry, especially in college, is not predictive at all because, there's just a lot of things that go into that, making it a little bit murky. And a lot of it is offensive line play, right? Like if you have an amazing offensive line and someone else has a terrible offensive line, you're probably going to average more yards per carry. But yards created kind of isolates that away. So he was great at creating yards on his own that were not blocked for him. Second most forced missed tackles per attempt. That completely isolates away offensive line. That's just, can you make defenders miss? Both these stats, very predictive from college to the NFL. We know that when people are highly ranked in these two, not always, but many times, they're going to be good in the NFL. The biggest thing with Tuten is fumbles. Like he fumbled a lot in college. He fumbled, I think, once or twice in camp. If he can fix that, he is by far the most explosive running back on this roster, and he's a better fit for the offense, really a better fit for all offenses, because it's like, think about when they have these guys on the field, and they've mentioned it at times as well, being like, we don't want to become one-dimensional when we have a running back on the field or just tip too much for defense. We know what is happening when Etienne is out there versus when Tank is out there. It's not like 100% of the time you run the ball when Tank's out there, but there's a much better chance that you are. And it's not 100% chance you don't dump to the running back, but he's got 8 receptions on 16 targets through 33 career games. You just know they're not going to use him in the receiving game. So if you were a defense, as soon as you see Tank Bigsby out there, you're like, okay, good chance it's a run play, but also a better chance that he's just not getting a target. So you just kind of know a little bit more. Etienne goes out there, you're like, okay, worst chance that it's a run play, better chance he's in the receiving game. But then even Travis Etienne, he had a decent amount of receptions and targets, but in terms of if you isolate out per play, right, he was just out there running a ton of routes. So he wasn't actually commanding a lot of receptions. He just ran so many routes that occasionally you're going to get a dump off. So you not only tip your hand, but neither one of them was that amazing at what they were doing. I would say Tank is a decent early down back, but how valuable is an early down back when they can't catch passes? You have to only do one thing when they're on the field. And then again, Etienne better as a pass catcher, but never commanded targets, and 3.8, 3.7 yards per carry last 2 seasons. So I don't think either one of these two, or even the combination of these two, is really what the Jaguars want in their top outcome this season. If the offense is really clicking, I think they would prefer, and that's what they're indicating in this draft pick, because again, those two running backs were not in the current coaching scheme, the current coaching system, right? This new regime comes in there, and they look at Etienne, they look at Tank Bigsby, and they say, okay, but this guy looks pretty good. And so they go out and get him in the draft, Tuten. I think that indicates what they're wanting. They want Tuten to be the guy. He can go in there, be a better early down back than Tank Bigsby, a much better receiving back than Travis Etienne. And if that happens, I'm a defense now. I don't know what's going to happen. When Tuten's out there, I don't know if it's going to be run play. I don't know if it's going to be pass play. I don't know if they're going to swing a pass to Tuten. I just have no idea what's going to happen. And when it does happen and all three of these running backs are in space, Tuten is by far the more dangerous, more explosive, better at forcing missed tackles running back when comparing these guys. So I just think the top end outcome here is amazing. And when it goes last by ADP, why not take that risk, right? If Travis Etienne was going at pick 150, I'd be like, well, okay, maybe we take a shot on someone like that because, there's still a chance that he ends up as a top back. Same thing with Bigsby. When he was going later, there was an ideal outcome there where maybe he gets early down work and go with him. But now Tuten is the one that goes by far the latest on these platforms. And so I say, why not take a shot on him? Because he also has the highest ceiling amongst all these guys. After Tuten, I think it's Braelon Allen. I've been pretty hard on Braelon Allen at times because he wasn't good last year. He really just was not that good in terms of explosiveness. Only Gus Edwards was less explosive. It also wasn't like he was great in zone running schemes and bad in man, or like vice versa. He was horribly inefficient in both of them. So there really wasn't anything that he was good at last season. The thing is, I think I've been too hard because the kid was 20 years old. Like, this wasn't some like 24-year-old rookie coming out here that we're like, he's NFL ready, and then he goes out there and he's bad. He was really, really good in college at a really, really young age. He was 20 years old for the entire season last year, entire regular season, because, Jets don't make playoffs. How many other running backs in NFL history do you think have done that? From what I can tell, the answer is 0. Braelon Allen, from what I can see in the research I did, is the only running back to be 20 years old all season long in NFL history. So it's tough to be like, you weren't that amazing. Yeah, because most of these running backs are like sophomores or like, and they still have like a year or two left in college at that age. It's not crazy that he didn't produce well at the NFL level at that point. He is 3 years younger than RJ Harvey, Krosky Merritt, and Woody Marks. 3 years younger. He's a year younger than Hampton, Henderson, Tuten. So he is younger than virtually all of the rookie running back class this season. He's also 235 pounds. He has 96th percentile speed score. Every beat report from camp indicates he is going to have a major role on this offense and could even lead the team in rushing. There's also that out that, Breece Hall gets traded away and you have now the number 1 running back on a very run-heavy team. I know the Jets going to stink. The Jets always stink. But they're going to run for most of their touchdowns and they're going to be run-heavy even when they lose. Again, not a good scheme. The staff's probably going to be fired pretty quickly, but they want to run it. And that's good for the running backs, right? Because we already know if they drop back a ton, it would probably be a nightmare with Fields. So they're going to run the ball. And if Braelon Allen is leading this team in rushing and he's your last running back pick, I don't know. Feels like a pretty good investment. Goes out to the top 150 on ESPN and Sleeper, out to the top 200 on NFL. Again, I don't think that one's real, but for a lot of you, he will be the last running back you have to draft this season. And that's a pretty good upside. Again, a fresh 21-year-old, going to be 21 all season. There is upside here for Braelon Allen. And I'm someone who loves Breece Hall. But I can't deny the beat reports, right? I want Breece Hall to be a thing. I think Breece Hall is awesome. At this point, I hope he gets traded away because the Jets just are idiots. They don't see it. Again, it's the Jets, so you're not shocked they don't see it. But hopefully he gets traded away and Braelon Allen can go off. Next up, a name that you may throw up when hearing, but Najee Harris. Like, Najee is quickly becoming my most rostered running back Underdog. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's probably going to end up on like 25 to 27% of my rosters this season. And I was not drafting him early in the year because he was appropriately priced. Around pick 100, 110. Like, that's probably where he should be going. You can routinely, in every single draft right now, get him out to the top 150 players. He goes 170 on ESPN, 180 on Yahoo. On Sleeper, more reasonable at pick 108. But, I think just people, myself included, like to poke fun at the whole eye incident because I don't want to say funny because the man almost lost his eye, but it's a kind of a crazy situation that happened. It's very easy to make jokes about it, but every single report over the last week or so, really 2 weeks, indicates he's going to be back early in the season. And they've been ramping up his practice. He was not placed on the PUP, so indicates there that he's going to play it sometime in the first 4 weeks. They've said recently that he has a chance to play in week 1. And what do we always talk about the running backs in this range? Who cares? Even if you took pick 100, you don't care if he's playing in week 1 or week 2 or week 3. You have starters. This is probably your 4th or your 5th running back. You couldn't care less if he's out there early in the year. If anything, you hope he's not out there, keeps ramping up, kind of avoids injury. Early season production for a running back pick at this point does not matter. There's no difference between him going out there, having 7 carries for 30 yards and not playing. There is no difference between those two. I'm not drafting Najee Harris to play him in week 1. I have that covered by this point. I want Najee because he's going to get touches as a baseline every week. We've always known this whole offseason that while I still love Amari Hampton, and Amari Hampton is the top running back on this team, we know for a fact that Amari Hampton's not getting 100% of the workload. That's only going to happen for 2 or 3 running backs all year, so don't worry that that's going to occur. But we know that another back is going to mix in. And when they don't have any other running backs of talent, they even get rid of Rocket Sanders, who I thought they probably should have kept. But they don't have anyone behind Najee. They're confident that he's going to play early in the season. And it wasn't like he tore his ACL or had a major hamstring injury. It was his eye. So as long as his eye opens back up, he's going to be fine. They went out and they gave him a ton of guaranteed money. I guess a ton of guaranteed money for a backup running back because he has at least 284 touches in all 4 seasons of his career. He's played a fully healthy 17 weeks in every single season. That is why they went after him. He is stable. Now, they didn't anticipate the 4th of July happening, but they know that he's going to be healthy all year. He can handle a ton of touches, and he can be that backup to where if Omarion Hampton got hurt, you could throw Najee in there to be 100% of what, well, not like production-wise, but volume-wise. Like if you were going to give Omarion Hampton 17 or 18 carries and like 2 or 3 targets a game, and then he tore his ACL, you could give Najee the exact same workload, and you'd get worse production, but he could handle it, and the production wouldn't be horrible. Whereas these other backups, they can't handle it, and the production would probably be pretty bad. So a player like that is going to mix in, and then would 1-for-1, I guess he'd probably be in fantasy like 90% of Omarion Hampton is, someone who can just replace that production, would be an auto start in fantasy, but is also has the ability to, if you needed to, you have injuries, you have buys, you could throw him in there and he'll probably get a couple touches, probably have a shot at a goal line touch or 2 every single week. I don't want to say he's going to score a touchdown every week, but he's going to have a shot, in the red zone a lot of these weeks, especially when they're winning games. To get that outside the top 150 players is unreal. It's unreal value. He should be going as the premier handcuff, and he's going after most of the handcuffs, and many of them are not even premier handcuffs. Behind Najee, I think it's Jaydon Blue. Probably breeze through this one because I've talked about Blue roughly 1 billion times this summer, but it just comes down to opportunity. Miles Sanders averaged 3.5 yards per carry over the last 2 seasons. He's been wildly inefficient in the receiving game over the last 4 seasons. He's also dealing with an injury right now. He only has a 1-year, $1.3 million contract. He's simply not going to win the lead running back job for Dallas Cowboys. Phil Maffa, that may have been a threat at some point, but he's opening because he honestly looked good at times over the summer and the preseason. He's going to open on the IR, so that really hurts his shot of breaking out. So Blue is really only competing for the lead role with Javonte Williams, and Javonte has averaged 3.6 yards per carry over his last 2 seasons in a good situation for running backs. He was the 8th least explosive running back in the NFL last season. He struggled to earn touches over Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime last year, who are complete afterthoughts right now. Like no one even remembers them. If Blue can stay healthy and show the explosiveness and the receiving game abilities that we know that he has, because remember, this kid is so good in the receiving game, the path for touches are right in front of him. And he goes outside the top 150 on ESPN, NFL.com. He goes in that like 130, 140 range on Sleeper Yahoo, which are all like good ranges. I'm not saying that he should go at like pick 90, but in that general range, that might be where you're picking your last running back. He's a great pick for the last running back because we'll also know if weeks 1, 2, 3 go by and he's getting like 4 or 5 touches a game, he doesn't look good. He still looks hobbled from this minor ankle injury. Miles Sanders is now healthy. He's getting touches over him. It's probably not going to happen. You can cut him. We're going to know early in the season, but there's a chance that this kid is the number 1 waiver claim in week 1 because he goes out there, splits the workload with Jaleel, busts off a few long plays, and everyone's like, oh my goodness, here we go. He's going to start pulling ahead very quickly and be someone we're starting in fantasy. That's an outcome that could occur, and you'll want to put those guys on the end of your roster. After Blue, I think it's Ollie Gordon, and I think this one is just trending up so much. And if you draft Devon Achane, I think you have to take him like multiple rounds ahead of where you think he's going to go. Like I think you just have to get Ollie Gordon onto your team because of the unknown. I think Achane's going to play in week 1. That's where it's trending, but you don't know what's going to happen. It's honestly crazy. Like he was in the Deep Sleepers video like way early in the summer. But even I, being an Ollie Gordon truther, did not imagine the run out he's had because it's also things that you couldn't have possibly predicted, right? Alexander Madison suffers a season-ending neck injury. Devon Achane is working through a calf injury. Jalen Wright has a minor procedure of an injury he suffered recently. That's going to hold him out for, they don't know yet. I don't think they're kind of deciding right now if they want to put him on PUP. If they put him on PUP, again, that's the first 4 weeks. If they don't put him on PUP, it still seems like he'll miss at least 1 or 2 games, but they don't know if he'll return for 3 or 4. All of a sudden, in camp, for the last 2 weeks almost, you've had Ollie Gordon as the only healthy running back. And so, again, I think Achane's going to play in week 1, but what do we always talk about for rookies in general, especially wide receivers, but even rookie running backs? Camp is so important because that is when they are installing game plans. That is when the coaching staff is getting a really good look at you. And that's how you can develop in these schemes. The time that Ollie Gordon has had with the starters, like completely his starting running back, went out there in the last preseason game, and he was the only running back to play with the first team. Like, all of these reps are super valuable to the point where it's like, he is earning trust with the coaching staff. He looks good. He is earning his way onto the field to a point where, like, if you had all these other guys playing, he may not have even had opportunities early in the season. And let's be honest, they cannot afford, like, if Achane gets injured, he tears his Achilles from this calf injury, something we have seen happen a lot more in the NBA right now, but we have seen it happen where guys have a calf injury, calf strain, they try and play through it, they come back too quickly, boom, there goes the Achilles. They cannot afford to have that happen. They are absolutely cooked if that occurs. So you'd imagine to start the year, they limit the reps a little bit with Achane, who was already someone who wasn't going to have 100% of the touches, right? He was not going to have every carry, every target on this offense. He will fall apart if he's getting 25 touches every week. And he was really bad at the goal line last season, so it's very easy to say, okay, come off the field when we get inside the 10-yard line, put Ollie Gordon out there, who's 226 pounds, have him kind of be like your Raheem Mostert when Achane was a rookie. Again, still like Achane, kind of that like mid to late second round pick for him. Probably very close to that range of, Bucky, Chase Brown, JT, Jacobs. So he's still a good pick, but there's room in this offense because it can be a very explosive offense, very good offense for another running back. And so all of a sudden you've got a guy who no one has been drafting, but he's going to have an early season role. He could potentially keep a short yardage role, someone that if they get up in games, maybe like leaning on in the second half. Again, not for every touch. It's not like he's going to have 20 touches a game. Achane's going to have 20 touches a game. They're both running back ones. But he's another premier handcuff that will have an early season role. And there's a world out there where Achane suffers a setback. He's the only healthy running back on the roster now, Ollie Gordon. And you're just sitting there like, oh my goodness, I just drafted this kid in round 17. Am I playing him at running back 2 right now? Like, because that outcome exists, you kind of just have to take him if you're in this range of the draft. And please don't forget, this isn't some random rookie. Like, he wasn't great last season, and that's why he fell to the 6th round in the NFL draft. But he was the best, not one of the best, the best running back in college football in 2023. He gained over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. He was 7th in Heisman voting. Like, he was going to be a first-round pick had he not had the season he had last season. But it was the offense. Like, his entire offense in college completely fell apart, and it was difficult to be good as a running back when your offense is terrible. You're losing every game by a ton. So there's a reason why the production wasn't as good last season. But I just want you to know, this isn't some scrub. Like, sometimes we hype up these rookie running backs, and you look at their college stat line, and you're like, he maxed out at 125 touches at like 4.5 yards a carry. Like, what are we even doing here, right? That is not Ollie Gordon. He was the best running back in college football in 2023, 7th in Heisman voting. Then his offense fell apart. Now he's looked great in the preseason, and there might be opportunity early in the year. I don't know. I just feel like he's a very easy pick to make as your final running back. So those are, I think, the best final 1 to 2 running backs for your roster this season. If you want to see exactly where I have every single running back ranked this year, see that on my website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. We're going to go over the most important news of the last week in tomorrow's video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that one. Also, while you're down there, hit the like button. It really helps me out. All right, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all for watching, but I'll catch you all on tomorrow's video.